Architecture is a way of emerging history, an archaeology that had almost existed there. Architecture has to talk about the environment, has to talk about context, and to do that, we have to understand that environment and the large sense of what an environment is. How can an architecture draw from what exists? How can it echo the history of the place?
She has a very clear aesthetic, she has a very clear philosophy, but what's interesting is she tends to modulate that depending on the context, the site.
That's what great architects usually are. They just connect dots that others just don't see together.
She opens dialogues, she layers histories. She sees architecture as an act of resistance.
When we live traumatic events, we have to talk about them. We can discuss them verbally, but we can discuss them also through space. It's not just about drawing an object that refers to the architect. The architecture has to become inhabited, that has to connect with people, that has a lot of responsibility. Hi. This is the Lama soup. This was put at the entrance of Assyrian palaces. And one of the challenges for me is how do you create, how do you put them in a place that they're still independent of the structure, like that they're not really part of the walls because they're coming from somewhere else.
So the Western Range project has been several years in the making. Basically occupies about 35% of the British Museum. This will be one of the largest cultural projects probably in the next 20 years. And some of the challenges are maybe a bit more intellectually interesting, which is, how do you design spaces for a universal museum in the 21st century for a global audience, for these extraordinary objects from cultures from all around the world. We went out to invite architects to come up with proposals. When we went to visit Lina, there was a moment where we asked her a tricky question, which is, you're still fairly young in your career, and therefore can you pull off a project of this scope and scale and complexity? She said very quietly, in a very unassuming, modest way, well, yes, I suppose when I was 26, I won the competition to design the museum in Estonia.
Parce que ce sont de vrais bâtiments, ce ne sont pas des projets.
Ah non, ce sont de vrais. Oui, tout à fait. Là, quand même, c'est le musée national estonien à Tartu. C'est pas pour rien, parce que ça a été construit dans un contexte. C'est magnifiquement bien fait. Regardez.
The competition itself was open in 2005. It was an anonymous competition, so they didn't know that we were foreigners. They thought we were Estonians. The project really dealt with the history in a way that was quite deep. Estonia was under Soviet occupation until '91. They have one of the largest ex-Soviet airfields. We positioned the museum into that airfield. This project that is around 40,000 square meters took 10 years to build and finish. A museum is not just about exhibition. A museum is also about collection, about storage. We had more than 100,000 objects. It has offices of conservation, places where you write about those objects, places where you produce cinema. So it's really a microorganism of different lives happening, almost like a micro-city. I became more than an architect because I had to present the project for different municipalities to push for this to become reality.
When you think about, at that age, winning a competition, but then actually leaving, the practice of Jean Nouvel, a very established, respected architect, to actually go and build it, that's kind of exceptional.
It did put her on the international stage. It was the foundation stone for everything that came after it.
There was a controversial reaction to the project. Some Estonians were thinking the museum is monumentalizing that Russian airfield. We want to forget about that history. For me, it's important to have these moments of silence to be able to understand what had happened, but also to open dialogue. How do we deal with our heritage? How do we deal with the painful history? Can it become an opportunity to heal? I was born in Beirut. During my childhood was the years where the war was happening. One does not recognize those moments when you're living in them. There is no electricity. You can't go out. I was spending so much time just drawing what's around me. Drawing was really about how to cope with the city in a certain way. Beirut was almost like an open archaeology. Every time we would build a new building, all the history would emerge. And the vision of the city as a torn away fabric was a driver to think of how to build and how to heal the city and bring beauty again. Look at this wall. All the pigeons are coming in and living their life. I feel like architecture has a tremendous role to play, to give back to the city, to give back to everyone. The project that had an impact on my profession in a deeper way was Stone Garden, actually.
Stone Garden is remarkable on so many levels. It's at the edge of the redeveloped city. It engages directly with the question of erasure and with memory. It mimics the bullet scars of buildings in Beirut, but instead of having scars, you have greenery and you have life.
That really talks about its locality, all those buildings that are completely eaten out by the war, but also life and inhabiting the city in a different way. The texture of the whole building was very important, almost like a rock that grows from the ground. It started with clay models, just combing them with the fork and like seeing, okay, that's an interesting pattern. Maybe we could implement it on a large scale. I had to push the workers to experiment while building. Sometimes they would come the next morning and say, I had a dream, we could do it this way. That was really amazing because the builders are attached to what they do.
Oh my God!
Oh my God.
In 2020, August 4th, there was a huge explosion in the port of Beirut. Stone Garden was one of the first buildings that was hit.
It actually resisted the explosion.
It was designed to endure earthquakes because Lina did look back at the site, at history, at what was happening in Beirut. In itself, the building embodies resilience. She's Lebanese, after all.
If you look at it today, it's really full of life. I really love how people, when they go there, they just touch the building. There is a sense where we feel we are part of the environment and we're quite physical as beings. Archaeology of the future is a term that I've developed that reflects on the process of designing in my practice. It's about always digging in the place, understanding the context, understanding the client. That takes the form of different research elements, images. Every time you build something, you're actually projecting in the future. And that's why it's an archaeology of the future. So really looking at the environment at large to build a certain history for the project. When designing the Serpentine, for example, it was going back to the figure of the Stonehenge and the idea of the table as a place of gathering, but also togunas, which are those structures that the Dogon people in Mali meet to make decisions. And as they sit under this big roof, they had to stay peaceful, because if someone gets angry and gets up, it just bumps his head. And how the space really is a way also of building peace. This kind of memory building, almost like traces that suddenly when you see the building, it comes and brings all those together. Oof. Come over. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Black and white. Oh my God, this is scary. It's really interesting to see the difference. I don't know, what do you think, Piotr, what was for you? Generally, as an architect, you're always trained also to build your own model. And for me, it's a measure also of how good an architect could be when you're able to do a model. Actually, the whole idea, you have a spatial mind in a way. Space, and when you get into the pavilion, kind of
Pavilion usually refers to a smaller and rather temporary situation. It's a typical playground where we can test out things.
The Osaka Pavilion was about building a whole structure magically with just wooden pieces, almost like kapla. At that time, or in Japan, and this is where we decided to build the whole project with unengineered wood that are just 4 meters. It's the available material in the market. So the idea emerges out of materials.
You have a first sketch, it can be on paper, it can be a little drawing in AutoCAD or 3D. And then we see, okay, what can we add to that?
We started working on physical models to see how this is assembled. At some point, you're like, does this work? No, structurally, do we have enough elements?
That's the brilliance of an architect, to see where lies the right path. I guess we are a bit more brutalist. Lina has a very different answer. It's much more poetic. It's built only with nails, no glue. We can reuse the timber afterwards, so no big metal pieces. Let's go back to the knowledge we had in the 15th century of working with timber.
There is a sense of magic when it's there standing. It starts to make you wonder how it's built. There's a sense of almost like the hand having assembled that, but yet it's our capacity of technology of calculating things before making them that allowed us to push the boundary. Architecture is about really allowing the extraordinary to happen, to constantly engage you in awe and wonder. Painting is a moment of pleasure. It's a way of connecting with the world. Art is a way of deeply engaging with our existence, because there is no set rationale when you're creating. It's really about connecting with us as beings that are made of our intuition, of all the history that constitute us, that suddenly becomes physical when you're expressing that on a piece of paper. I never really wanted to be an architect when I grew up. I wanted to be a doctor. Sometimes I feel like the world is contained in our bodies. But then when I started architecture, it felt to me very much related. Architecture deals with the body, it deals with the human being, it deals with the living. I don't think it really matters whether I'm an artist, I'm an architect, or a builder, or in some way biologist. I think pollinization and intersection with other fields is so crucial. You could compare architecture to an orchestra or to a symphony that you're listening to. The chef d'orchestre is the person giving the rhythm. Then every single person in that orchestra is important and has to be playing in the same rhythm. Architects sometimes they tend to be perfectionists. I am a perfectionist. You want everything to be right. So you're just trying to push things, almost like an athlete. It's the last stretch that becomes the most difficult, and this is where you need to put your effort and really make things happen.
Whose meeting is this? Could someone let me into the team?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'll run through the presentation. So we have three options that we have been working on. The first option is about restoring the original courtyard, creating a memorable dynamic gallery space. Mind you that in all options, the shapes or the final shape of the roof is not that. So this is just really a feasibility study at the moment. The second one is trying to start to expand. The challenge was how to deal with this heritage that one has to respect and yet to bring newness and breathing spaces that brings another perspective. How do you exhibit 8 million objects where only a small percentage are exhibited? And talk about their origins and allow dialogue to happen. It's about opening the identity of a museum to reappropriate history, all while accepting that history. It's really allowing to go up to the roof and allowing for sky courtyards.
If you go from option 2 to 3, if you build up, you then need to let more light in.
What we're thinking is not so much about more and more floors, but just how to have very grand volumes.
Yeah.
This will be, hopefully, a project that transforms the British Museum for decades to come.
Of course, we have more circulation as we grow up. Just to talk about the garden.
She demonstrated not just an exceptional vision, but an exceptional sensitivity and intelligence to the way that you deal with an existing Grade 1 listed building, rethinking the British Museum, rethinking an encyclopedic museum, but moving that into the future. The jury unanimously chose Lina.
Serious business.
Wow.
Yay!
Got flag.
Well, you get one problem to take away. Surprise.
Where's the champagne? I'm very excited. This is, let's say, the most like filled with dreams phase, because this is where you push the potentials and you push the possibilities. One thing that is very rewarding is the moment an architecture becomes public and becomes a place for people. The architect disappears. If kids like your spaces, they always feel like this is the test of any architecture. Like when I did the Serpentine Pavilion, it was really beautiful to see kids actually just gathering in the center and spinning around and looking at the light. We underestimate how much architecture affects our well-being. I think there is too little architecture in this world. We desperately need, actually, places that bring peace, that bring positivity, that have their own presence and their own spirit.